So let me do the intro again, but welcome in. It is the 4-2 National League leading Fort Wayne Kekiongas against the 3-1 American League leading Philadelphia Athletics from the Jefferson Street grounds in Philadelphia. It should be a great game. 11th of May, 1871. How are you, Benny? I'm doing good, man. How are you? Actually, Cully. How are you doing, man? I'm doing all right. Emotionally, I'm a little bit dead. The Phillies have lost 3 of their last 4. The Oilers dropped game 2. The Oilers dropped game 3. Emotionally, my sports teams have me pretty much dead. But aside from that, I'm well. Right, it's Bobby Matthews, sorry, on the mound for Philadelphia. He has pitched. He has a 3-1 record. He's averaging a 1.54 ERA. He's given the first strike here to Dickie Flowers, who's leading off for Fort Wayne. Flowers batting .333 so far this season. And here we go into the 0-1 pitch. This is going to be low for a ball. It's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. That's popped up right in the infield. And gloving it will be Dickie Pierce, and that is going to be the first out of the inning. That brings up center fielder Count Sessendorfer. He's currently batting .207, 4 RBIs. Here's the first pitch to him. That's taken outside for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Swung on, grounded over to the shortstop, or to the second base. On to first, but it's an error. And Count Sessendorfer is aboard on an E4. So the first error of the game coming via the way of Dick Hagum. And we've got our first base runner as well. It's Count Sessendorfer. That'll bring up second baseman Jimmy Ward, batting .407. He has a home run with 6 RBIs. First pitch swung on, grounded over towards third baseman. On to second for 1, and they will get the second out of the inning. Fielder's choice, 5-4 on the putout. And going to first will be Jimmy Wood, sorry. And he's aboard. He's got a lot of speed over there at first base. He could steal. It's always a possibility. Steve King will step up to the plate, the left fielder, currently batting .321, 3 RBIs so far this season. Here's the first pitch to him. Swung on and missed, and it's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That is popped up and drifted foul. 0-2 will be the count. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's lined foul down the third base side. The 0-2 is fouled off back behind home plate. It'll remain 0-2. Here's the 0-2. That's grounded over towards the second baseman. He done well to stop it going into the outfield, but it's going to be credited as a regular single. And Steve King is aboard with a single. Wood goes to second. And now it's first and second here with 2 outs. Third baseman Harry Schaefer will be the next batter. He's batting .200 with 2 RBIs. Here's the first pitch to Harry Schaefer, and that is right down the gut for a called strike. Here's the 0-1. That is below the knees for a ball. 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. That's grounded foul. It'll be 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. lined into center field. It's just over the shortstop's head. It's a base hit. Wood stops at third. King goes to second, and Harry Schaefer is aboard with a single, and now the bases are loaded with 2 outs here. That'll bring up Wes Fizzler, the first baseman. He is batting .321 with 6 RPIs. Or RBIs, sorry, not RPIs, RBIs. Here's the first pitch to Fizzler. He swung that. That's going to be drifting foul. 0-1 to count. Here's the pitch. That's taken outside for a ball. 1-1. Here's the 1-1. Swung on, lined into right field. That's a base hit. Fort Wayne are on the board here in the first inning. Wood comes in to score. Going to third is Steve King. Harry Schaefer goes to second, and Wes Fizzler's got an RBI single here in the top of the first. That brings up Fergie Malone. He's batting .269. He's got 2 RBIs so far this season. First pitch to him. That's popped up in the infield. First baseman's coming over to get it. He will glove it down, and that is going to retire the side. So, it is 1 run on 3 hits, and they leave the bases loaded. We go to the top, or we go to the bottom of the first. It is 1-0 Fort Wayne. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics will be second baseman Dick Higham. He's batting .353 with 5 RBIs. Pitching for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas will be George Zetline. He is currently 4-2 with a 3.06 ERA. Here's the first pitch. That's taken outside for a ball. It's 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Swung on, popped up in the infield. Right down the first base side. And that'll be the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Frank Barrows, the center fielder. He is batting .059 so far this season. Here's the first pitch to him. Taken for a called strike. 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's swung on, grounded foul. Sorry, I'm having a post-dinner crash at the same time. I had ribs tonight. They were very good. Here's the 0-2. That's taken below the knees. That's a ball. 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Swung on, lined right at the shortstop, and that'll be out number 2 in the inning. That brings up left fielder Tom York. He is currently batting .294 with 2 RBIs so far this season. Here's the first pitch to him. Swung on, grounded over to first. That'll be taken by the first baseman to the bag. And that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left on base. We go to the top of the second. Fort Wayne leading by a score of 2-1. Due up first for the Kekiongas is right fielder Dave Birdsall. We are going to take a quick 60-second timeout. We'll be back with the second inning in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. Second inning here from the Jefferson Street grounds. And here is Dave Birdsall, who's stepping in for Fort Wayne. First pitch to Dave. That's popped right up. Right to the shortstop. And that'll be the first out of the inning. That'll bring up pitcher George Zedeline. He's batting .222 with 2 RBIs so far this season. Here's the first pitch to him. That's off the plate inside for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's grounded over to second. On to first in time, and that'll be out number 2. That brings us back to the top of the order. Shortstop Dickie Flowers, who popped up to the shortstop. His first at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's high for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Below the knees for a ball, 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. That's grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first in time, and that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left on base. They went 3 up, 3 down in the top of the second. We moved to the bottom of the second. It's still 1-0 for Fort Wayne. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics is third baseman Ed Pinkham. Pinkham currently batting .438 with
I owe allegiance to
2
no
RBIs.
entity.
Welcome in,
I intend to live by my
big
own
man
code now.
on campus. Thank you for the follow. Is it Otto Leidenbrock? Is that what it is? Welcome in. Let me give you a shout out. Guys, for those that aren't already following BMOC, he plays a whole variety of games. Most of them have the name Simulator in them, but he also plays Football Manager, and he's a great member of the community, of the greater FM community. Give him a follow. BMOC, I'd give you a shout out that would have a clip appear, but currently scene.tg is under maintenance, so I can't give you the one that pops up on the screen that'll stay in the VOD. But how was the end of your stream? How are you? And welcome into all of those. I am Benakage. This is Out of the Park Baseball. We have gone back in time to the 1871 season. Didn't know you streamed. Nice to see. Nice. Thank you. I did. I do. Yeah. This is the 1871 baseball season. So you can go back in time to the start of the first professional baseball season. You can really start a campaign in any historical MLB season. And we've decided to start at the very beginning. So welcome to 1871. It is the Fort Wayne Kekiongas who are leading the National League. They are 4-2, and they are traveling at the Philadelphia Athletics, who are 3-1 and also leading the American League. And that's where we're at right now. So you've joined us in the bottom of the second inning. I personally, just as a side note before we get back to the baseball, I stream all kinds of stuff here. Football Manager, I have 2 saves in Football Manager going. I have a bottom to top community save, and I have a 100% challenge. I stream gotcha games like Action Taimanin, Goddess of Victory Nikkei. I stream an anime golf game called Pangya. I stream Hearts of Iron 4, the grand strategy game made by Paradox Entertainment. If you're a fan of BMOC, you would have seen him at some point stream Crusader Kings, which is another Paradox Entertainment game. I stream Rise of Nations as well, which is a 2001 real-time strategy game. So a little bit of everything on this stream, including probably next week at some time, or maybe next week at some time, the new Stellar Blade game that just came out for PC. Right. We are into the baseball. Let's recap what you guys missed so far. Fort Wayne Kekiongas popped up to the shortstop, reached via an error, a fielder's choice, and then 3 straight singles brought home Jimmy Wood for a run. And then the Fergie Malone, the catcher, popped up to the first baseman, and that ended the top of the first. Bottom of the first, 3 up, 3 down for the Athletics. A pop up to the first, there's a line out to the shortstop, and then an unassisted ground out to first baseman. Top of the second, 3 up, 3 down. Pop up and 2 ground outs. And now here we are in the bottom of the second. Due up first is Ed Pinkham, the third baseman. He is batting .438 so far this season with 2 RBIs. Here's the first pitch to Ed Pinkham, and that's going to be right down the plate for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Check swing, but he didn't go, and it's high for a ball. Here's the 1-1. That's lined and drifted foul. It'll be 1-2. If you see me looking down, by the way, it's because we actually have a scorebook, and I'm scoring the game. That's how I knew what happened previously. Right, here's the 1-2 pitch. That's chop foul. It will remain 1-2. Here's the pitch. Line foul again, back into the screens. 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Off the plate away and low. And the count goes to 2-2. Respect to commitment. Thank you. I actually am managing a team in this save as well. I'm the Rockford Forest Cities. This is the only game on the 11th of May, 1871. So we're commentating this one. I will commentate my own team. I do make the decisions for them, but yeah, we're 2-4, sitting I think 2.5 games back. No, we're 2 games back of these Fort Wayne Kekiongas. So we need the Athletics to do us a favor here. Here's the pitch. That's line foul again. It's still 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, fouled back behind home plate. It remains 2-2. Here's the pitch. This one's lined into the outfield, but it stays up there enough for the center fielder to get under it, and that'll be the first out of the inning. A tough at bat, but Zetlin gets his man, and that'll retire the first batter here in the bottom of the second. That brings up shortstop Dickie Pierce. He is currently batting .467 with 2 RBIs. Here's the first pitch. That is off the plate away for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That swung on into center field. And that is gloved on by the center fielder, whose name, he has the best name in baseball, Count Sensendorfer. And he's retired 2 straight batters in center field there. That'll be the second out of the inning. It also brings up catcher Scott Hastings. He's batting 176 with 3 RBIs so far this season. Here's the first pitch to Hastings. That is grounded over towards the shortstop. Oh, and he's flubbed it. He's lost it. He's dropped it. And it is going to be Hastings reaching via an error. Dicky Flowers getting credit for the error. So does the database generate as the years go on? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You actually get the option to pick how you want them. So the game will ask you, how do you want future players to generate? Do you want them to be real-life players in name and accuracy in terms of who they signed for and their stats? You can have them be somewhat accurate to their potential and sign, like, you can have it either where they follow the history to the absolute T. So, like, you know, Shoeless Joe Jackson's going to appear and he's going to go to the Red Sox or the White Sox, right? Yep, Shoeless Joe Jackson and Babe Ruth will come. You can have it so that they'll appear, but they might not sign with the White Sox. And in Babe Ruth's case, the Red Sox, right? Because he started with the Boston Red Sox. So, and that's and you can have them so that they are, and if you choose that, they have a random development path. So we're going to get them in name. We're going to get Shoeless Joe Jackson in name. We're going to get Babe Ruth in name. But we don't know if he's going to be, like, for example, we don't know if Babe Ruth is going to be an incredible baseball hitter, or he could be a dud, or he just could be an average player. We don't know. That's part of that's the only thing I've left up to random is their development paths. But they are coming into the game based on name. The teams will change, obviously. So, like, in 1872, the Troy Haymakers actually fold halfway through the season because they run out of money. And you can play them in this save in 1872. And then in 1873, they become the Philadelphia Whites, which was short for the White Stockings. So, yeah, the real-life teams are going to play. The playoff format's going to change historically. So, the number of games the season will change via how it was historically. So, yeah, the most of the game will be accurate. Right. Hastings is aboard on an E6. Charlie Bierman will be the first batter, or will be the next batter. I play a game similar to this, similar sport too. Cricket Captain is the game, and has Monstel Alphas. That's awesome. I think that game. Remind me. But isn't that game pretty dated? Like that game might be 10 years old by now. Because if I remember correctly, it released on PC but never on Steam, and you couldn't buy it over here in the States. But if not, I'm going to definitely check it out on Steam, because that would be awesome. Right. Charlie Bierman is the batter. He's batting 118. He's got 1 RBI. There's a runner on first, 2 outs here. Here's the first pitch. Taken for a called strike at the knees. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That is taken below the knees this time for a ball, and it's 1-1. Here's the pitch. That's lined into left field. And diving for it, but not making the play is Steve King. That's going to be extra bases. And Hastings is into second with a double. And I'm sorry, Bierman's into second with a double. Hastings gets to third. That'll bring up right fielder Neely Phelps. He's currently batting 353 with 1 RBI. 2 runners in scoring position, 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, and that's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's taken inside for a ball, 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Lined into center field, right at the center fielder, and Sensendorfer will grab all 3 outs this inning, and that will retire the side. It's a new game every year, but the engine is practically the same for like a decade. It's pretty well flat price, though, so you pay for new database detail modes, licenses, sort of like FM, but less popular sport. Gotcha. I'll have to check it out. I hope it's available in my region of the U.S., because if it's anything like some of the games I wish were on Steam, they're available in only specific regions. Right, no runs on 1 hit. They leave 2 on. We go to the top of the third. Fort Wayne is leading by a score of 2-0. We are going to take a quick 60-second commercial break. We'll be back with the 3rd inning in just a moment. Right, welcome back. 3rd inning about to get started here in Philadelphia. We've got Fort Wayne 1-0 in the lead. Due up first for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas will be center fielder Count Sessendorf. Here's the first pitch. He lines this over to the 3rd baseman. On to first, but it's a bad throw. And it is an E5. Sessendorfer is aboard. Ed Pinkham gets credit for the error. And Fort Wayne Kekiongas have got a leadoff runner here in the top of the 3rd. That's going to bring up Jimmy Wood, the 2nd baseman. He reached via a fielder's choice, his first at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's lined over to the second baseman. On to second for the lead runner. They can't get the one at first, so it'll be back-to-back fielder's choices for Jimmy Wood. 4-6 on the putout. And there's now 1 away. Left fielder Steve King will be the next batter. He reached via a single his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's a called strike. 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's taken away for a ball. 1-1. The 1-1 pitch taken inside, ball 2. And now the count's 2-1. Here's the pitch. That's swung on, grounded foul. 2-2 to count. Here's the pitch. That's taken in the dirt for a ball. And the count is now full. The payoff pitch. Swung on, grounded down the first base side. Stepping on first alone will be Charlie Bierman. It'll be an unassisted 3 on the putout. And Jimmy Wood gets himself into scoring position here with 2 outs. Third baseman Harry Schaefer will be the next batter. He hit a single his first at bat. Here's the pitch. That is taken for a ball. It is 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on, grounded over to third. On to first in time, and that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, and they leave 1 aboard. We go to the bottom of the third. It is still 1-0 for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas. Due up first for the Athletics is pitcher Bobby Matthews. Matthews batting .294 so far this season. Good, that's fixed. Here's the first pitch. Grounded foul. Here's the 0-1. That's grounded over towards the first baseman. He will take it himself, and that retires Matthews. Top of the order now, Dick Higgum, the second baseman, is due up. He popped up to the first baseman in his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's off the plate away for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on. That's grounded right in front of home plate. On to first in time, and that will retire Dick Higgum. Frank Barrows will be the next man up. He lined out to the shortstop his first at bat. Here's the first pitch to Barrows. That swung and popped up to the shortstop, who makes the play, and that retires the side. 3 up, 3 down for Philadelphia. We go to the top of the fourth. The Fort Wayne Kekiongas lead this matchup by a score of 1-0. Due up first for Fort Wayne will be first baseman Wes Fissler, who has an RBI single his last at bat. Apparently I double tapped the 1, so he took the first pitch for a fouled ball, but I would like to run the ads. They start in 6.5 minutes anyway. You guys can see that down there. They will only run for a minute, so if I run a minute worth of ads, it'll push it out by an hour. But since it's been so short since I ran a previous ad, I can't even run it. Don't the rules adapt fluidly too with the real life changes? No. The rules, I just guess it was too much for them to program, because the rules really very like back in 1871. You threw underhanded, right? And it took 9 balls to draw a walk in the opening league. So I guess it was just, they figured it was too much to program it into the game. Um, but what they do also do is the stadiums will change. So like obviously the look of this stadium is in 1871 because you have a giant jumbotron, right? But like the capacity, the ground, like the length of the outfield walls, they all change historically. And you want to know the crazy thing? The money changes as well. Like I'm managing Rockford, and Rockford is currently charging 10 cents a ticket. So, and what you pay players and how much you charge for tickets and all that stuff, that changes per you know uh, the progression of the game. So when we get to the 70s, tickets are going to be like $1 or two, up to like 5. You know, I think that's neat too. So they factored in actual like inflation of the ticket and player prices over the over the 150 years that baseball's been played in the country, which is neat. I think I am gonna run that ad just because I don't want it to interrupt. It's 3 minute 50. I don't want it to interrupt the actual inning, so I'm gonna run it now. We'll be back with the 4th inning in 60 seconds time. Right, welcome back. 4th inning here in Fort Wayne, and due up first is Wes Fisler. He had the RBI single. My baseball knowledge is limited to a few documentaries, one on Shoeless Joe Jackson, which was pretty tragic, as the guy sounded like he was depressed for the rest of his life, and one by Ken Burns, who did the famous Vietnam War dump. Oh, okay, I didn't know. What was the one that Ken Burns did? What was the one that he did, if you remember it? The story of Shoeless Joe Jackson is pretty sad, actually. They just this year repealed his ban on his eligibility to the Hall of Fame. So he may actually get in. But he was a really gifted player. Right. Here's the first pitch to Wes Fisler. Or I should say the second pitch to Wes Fisler. That's taken for a ball. And it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's lined into right field, base hit. And Wes Fisler has got 2 hits so far in this game. That brings up catcher Fergie Malone, who popped up to the first baseman his last at bat. I think it was made like 30 years ago, but the theme was if you wanted to understand America, you had to understand baseball. That actually seems like a really interesting movie. The thing with baseball, right, is that like a lot of the quirkiness that you find in, I think what a lot of people, or what's one point I would make to our particularly British audience, but is that, you know, there's quirkiness with football in England, right? People come dressed like, people in Newcastle come dressed up as nuns and things like that, right? Like to go to the games. Like it's happened before. Like there's some elements of football that's like it's a little bit quirky, and you get that character because the game has been there for so long, right? Like when was the first football league? 1888, was it? Or 1880, something like that? One of the two. So, professionally, the sport has been played in England for 140, 145 years. About then, yeah, exactly. So it's like 145 years that the sport's been played in England at a professional level, right? We don't have any sports like that except for baseball. Baseball is like that. So the quirkiness, all the rules, they've developed over 150 years, right? Like, think about the laws of the game, the original laws of the game written by the Football Association in, 1870 or 1871? It's 11 rules. It fits on one page. I have 2 copies of the laws of the game over on the bookshelf over there, and it's like 100 pages, right? Well, how does that develop? Well, that develops because you play the sport over 150 years, and people find ways to push boundaries and do things, and you know what I mean? And sometimes things happen that's unfortunate. Like icing and ice hockey is a great example. People don't know a lot, a lot of, Western Europeans specifically don't know a lot about ice hockey. And I was talking with someone today who was British, and they're like, I didn't realize you can't just throw the puck up the ice. And I'm like, yeah, that happened because in the 1820s or in the 1920s or 1930s, Brooklyn, the New York Rangers, who were then called Brooklyn, did that. They scored first, and then that's all they did. Is every time the opposing team came with the puck into their own zone, they won it, and they threw it back up the ice. And the fans booed them vehemently because it was extremely boring to watch them do that for 60 minutes. And these are fans that paid good money. This was during the Great Depression era in the 30s. And the league took the approach, well, we're not going to take – it's so hard for people to attend these games. We're not going to make it unattractive for them to do so. We don't want them to come here and sit through 50 minutes of that. So we're going to create a rule called icing, where if you do that, we're going to stop the game and do a face-off in the defensive zone. So, then you have to deal with a face-off in your own zone if you do that. And it's like things like that come about because the game's played so long. So, that's the neat thing about baseball. There's a lot of rules. Some of them don't make any sense at all, even to this day. But, it's the only sport in the U.S. that's had over 100 years to grow, really, outside of like ice hockey. And even then, your history is great. Yeah, exactly. So, ice hockey obviously has been around since the very late 1890s, but a lot of the teams, 2 of the original 6 are Canadian. So, it was only ever played in the far northeast, in Boston and eventually Detroit and whatnot. So, right. Let's take this pitch to Fergie Malone. Here is the first pitch to him, and that is going to be a ball. It's 1-0. So, here's the 1-0 pitch. He swung on and missed. That'll be the first strike. It's 1-1. One thing I do think that's neat, though, because if you think real about the game, I'm going back to the out of the park, is because in the 1870s, they actually didn't throw overhand until the Major League Baseball came about in like 1901. And because they pitched underhanded, they've given these giant stamina ratings to the pitchers. So these pitchers can actually wind up throwing like 220 balls or pitches before they're really tired. And I think that's really neat. So they've at least factored in some of the historical accuracy of how the game is actually played, because these pitchers can handle 220 pitches a game. Obviously, in the modern era, it's very rare to see a pitcher even go 100 pitches, and even if he is pitching great, he's going to go 110, 120 tops. You know. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's swung on. That's popped up. That's going to drift into foul territory, and the third baseman is there to make the play. That'll be the first out of the inning. That's Charlie Bierman. I'm sorry. That is Ed Pinkham getting the put out. Philadelphia Phillies is my MLB team. We are, I think, currently losing to the Cubs. The Phillies are on a horrid run of form. Yeah, the Phillies are losing 5-4 right now. We have lost 10 of our last 12 games. So they're not doing too hot. I have 3 sports teams that are playing their sports right now. The Oilers, who are 2-1 down in the Stanley Cup final. The Phillies, who have lost 10 out of the last 12. And the Union, who are actually top of the East. So the Union, my MLS team is the only team doing good right now. Everybody else is kind of... I mean, to make the Stanley Cup final, you have to be good. But the Oilers aren't going to win it, I don't think. That first pitch to Dave Birdsall will be low and away for a ball. Birdsall, by the way, he popped up to the shortstop his first at bat. And the 1-0 pitch is fouled behind home plate. It'll be 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That is taken, called, strike 2. And it's 1-2 now to Dave Birdsall. My team lost 22 Premier League games this season, so I know the feeling. Ended sweet at least. Spurs, I take it, is your Premier League team. 1-2 pitch. That's grounded right in front of the home plate. On to second, and did he get him? Yes, he did. He's out. And Dave Birdsall reaches first on a fielder's choice. 2-6 on the putout. But Wes Fistler is sent back to the dugout, and now there's a runner on first with 2 outs. I should hate Spurs. Me being a I do hate Spurs. No offense. Me being a West Ham fan dictates that I don't like Spurs. However, I really, really wanted Sonny and Ange to win that Europa League final, and I'm very, very happy that they did, because I think both of them deserve it. Both of them deserve it. Ange went through a lot of bullshit this season. They went through a huge injury crisis. I mean, that was probably one of the worst injury crises I've seen since I've been watching the Premier League. That was that bad. And to come out with a Europa League title, I think is deserving. And Sonny, Sonny's a great player. And obviously, I don't know how you feel about Heung-min Son. I do like him, but I feel like he's just starting to tick over into the dusk of his career. And it's like, the last thing I want is for him to be like a Mark Noble, where he's trying to win something before he retires and he just doesn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I felt really bad that Mark never won anything as West Ham's captain, right? Like, but the fact that he did, or that Son did, it made me happy. That's why I think that's what I tell people. I say, look, listen, I told somebody the other day, I said, if you gave him the opening 6 to 8 games of the season and then you were in like 12th or 13th, yeah, you probably then sack him. But, if you give him the opening 6 to 8 games of the season and you guys are 6th or 7th, you ride it out a little longer. You know what I mean? And somebody told him, yeah, but that means you're giving him the transfer window, and that could be terrible because he's only going to bring players he wants in. And I'm like, but the players that Spurs have now, and Frank may be fine with it. Yeah, yeah. if anything, I think he might need Sun to help him break in and gain the trust of the players. But I think after this season, if Frank is still there, which I have every confidence he will be, then I think he moves on. I think he'll get this season. But yeah, I think Sun moves on after this season, because I think his career's winding down now. But I think going back to the point on Ange, you gave him 6 to 8 games, and then if you sack him, you sack him then because you're like 13th or whatever. But somebody told me that means you give the transfer window to Ange, and that could be terrible. And I'm like, the players that Spurs have there now are quality enough that giving him the transfer window isn't going to make or break the club. It's not like a Wolves or a West Ham or Palace or Bournemouth, where the transfer window could have a huge impact on the next season. They've got good pieces in place there. So giving him the transfer window and 6 to 8 games, I didn't see as being a problem. But Daniel Levy's not really the best owner. To be honest, me being West Ham and you being Spurs, we can agree on something, or we have something in common. And that is both our ownerships are fucking atrocious. Here's pitcher George Zetlin coming into bat. He grounded out his first at bat. Throw over to first, and runner is back in time. Here's the first pitch. That is a called strike, 0-1. My fear is that we got David Sullivan and yeah, I know. Yeah, this century, just in general, as well. You guys have 3 Europa Leagues. We have a European Cup, Winners' Cup, and a Conference League. So I think Arsenal just has 1 Europa League, if I remember correctly. So, my fear is that obviously David Gold passed away a few years ago, right? And he was the big West Ham fan, as an owner. But I think my fear is that David Sullivan doesn't want to really be bothered with the club anymore, and he will sell, and we'll just be left with Karen Brady. And Karen Brady was really the one that was in charge of she took over running the women's team, or overseeing the women's team. When David Sullivan let his son Jack Sullivan overlook the women's team, we actually had our greatest success. We made a women's FA Cup final. We finished I think 5th or 6th. I think it was 4th or 5th in the league. We actually were doing well in the FAWSL. And then Jack didn't want to bother with it anymore. I think because he had to go to college or something, and Karen Brady took over the oversight of the women's team, and ever since we finished second from bottom every season. So Spurs were first to win that. Nice, yeah. So we've won that in '86, I think. I want to say it was won in '86. For West Ham. And then obviously we have the Conference League in 2023. Here's first pitch to George Zetlin. That is lined into center field. That's a base hit. Dave Birdsall goes to second. And Zetlin is aboard with a single. That brings up the top of the order Dickie Flowers, the shortstop. He popped out and ground out. Karen Brady is off for more TV business personality than actual business acumen. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of her. This one's chopped foul. It's 0-1. I mean, I think at some point, I think the fans are going to turn so much against those two that they're just going to sell the club because they don't want to deal with it anymore. I think that's the what's going to happen. But I think it's going to be a long process for them to do it. We won't see that for 4 to 5 years. So, she was on The Apprentice show here. Wasn't that run by oh my God, I can see his face. I can't remember his name. Oh my God. I know him. I've listened to many interviews. I don't like him. He's not a nice gentleman. I can't remember. Alan Sugar. Yes, that's it. Here's the first pitch. That's popped up. Drifting foul. I saw his face with the beard and the white hair, and I'm like, I just couldn't remember his name. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's taken outside for a ball. It's 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Chop foul. Oh, no, it's a pass ball. I'm sorry. It's a pass ball. It's a 2-2. It's taken for ball. It was a check swing. He didn't make contact with the ball, and the pitcher could not stop the ball. So the ball went to the backstop, and it allowed the runners to advance in the scoring position. Here's the 2-2. That's swung on. That's lined into left field. That's going to be a base hit. Birdsall will score. Going to third is Zetlin, and Dickie Flowers has got himself an RBI single. It is 2-0 Fort Wayne. That'll bring up center fielder Count Sensendorfer, who's 0 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Sensendorfer. That is taken for a strike. Here's the throw to second. It's safe. It's an error throw. And on the steal, it's a double steal. Zetlin scores. Dickie Flowers is now at third on the error. It's an E2, which is Scott Hastings getting the throwing error. And all of a sudden, it's 3-0 and a runner on third. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's taken outside for a ball, 1-2. 1-2 pitch to Count Sensendorfer. Swung on, that's lined into right field a deep. Going back as the right fielder, and he makes the catch just shy of the warning track, and that retires the side. 2 runs on 3 hits, and they leave 1 aboard. We go to the bottom of the 4th. It is now 3-0 Fort Wayne. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics will be left fielder Tom York. He grounded out his first at bat. Here's first pitch to York. That's taken low for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on, lined into left field. Does it stay fair? No, it does not. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's taken inside for a ball, 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Swung on, lined up to center field, and that is a base hit. Tom York with a leadoff single here to start the bottom of the 4th for the Athletics. This was going to bring up Ed Pinkham, the third baseman. He flied out to center field his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's off the plate away for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Called strike, but it deflects off the pitch, off the catcher. He can't stop it, and Tom York is going to advance 90 feet. Here's the 1-1. Off the plate away for a ball, 2-1. By the way, is it late where you're at, Otto? Are you over in the UK? It's got to be like 2:15 in the morning over there. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded foul. The 2-2 pitch. Swung on, that's grounded foul. And we'll go again. Here's the 2-2. That's fouled back behind home plate. 2-2. It remains. Here's the pitch. That's grounded foul down the first base side. 7th pitch of the at-bat coming. Here's the 2-2. That's going to be grounded foul. Here's the 2-2 pitch. That's also grounded foul. It's the 9th pitch of the at-bat, and it's taken below the knees for ball 3. Here's the payoff pitch. That's popped up into left center field. Left fielder's over there. He will glove it, and that will retire Ed Pinkham. 10 pitches in the at-bat, but Zetlin finally gets his man. That'll bring up shortstop Dickie Pierce. He flat out the center field his first at-bat. Here's the first pitch. Inside for a ball. Throw on to third, and he got him. Tom York is caught stealing at third. That's not good. That's not good. I mean, he's in scoring position. There's no need to force third base. Really sloppy decision in base running from Philadelphia now. There's 2 outs with nobody on. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That's lined right at the first baseman, and that will retire the side. No runs on no hits. We go to the top of the 5th. It is 3-0 Fort Wayne. 2 up first for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas is second baseman Jimmy Ward. He is 0 for 2 so far today. We are going to take a quick 60-second timeout. We'll be back with the 5th inning in just a moment. Welcome back. Jimmy Wood is the second baseman, and he is also 2 up first for Fort Wayne. Here we go. First pitch. That's lined right into center field. That is a base hit for Jimmy Wood. And it's a lead-off single here in the 5th inning for Fort Wayne, looking to add to their advantage. That brings up left fielder Steve King. He is 1 for 2 with a single. First pitch. That's grounded over to the first baseman. Safe is the call. He took too long. He should have taken it in the bag himself. He did not, and now it's back-to-back singles. That brings up third baseman Harry Schaefer. He is 1 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch. That is in there for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. He's popped that up. Over at second, baseman's over to grab it. He will. And that'll be the first out of the inning. The runners cannot move. Infield fly rule was in effect anyway. First and second, one out. Here is Wes Fizzler. He is 0 for 2 with he's 2 for 2 with an RBI so far today. Here's the first pitch. That is taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2. It's 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Grounded over towards the first baseman. On to second for 1. They can't come back for the second one. So Fizzler is aboard via a fielder's choice. It will be 3-6 on the putout. And going over to third is Jimmy Wood. That brings up Fergie Malone, the catcher. He's popped out twice. Runners on the corners. 2 outs. Here's the first pitch. That is inside, ball 1. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That's taken away, ball 2. Here's the 2-0. That's lined into center field. That's going to be run. Base hit for Fergie Malone. Jimmy Wood comes in to score. Wes Fizzler goes to second. And Fergie Malone's got himself an RBI single here in the top of the 5th. Next batter will be right fielder Dave Birdsall. He is 0 for 2 so far today. First pitch. That's taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2 over the third base. Did he get him? Yes, he did. They tried the double steal, and it didn't work out. Wes Fizzler was caught stealing in the end. And that is how the side retires. So, 1 run on 3 hits. They leave 1 aboard. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It is 4-0 Fort Wayne. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics will be catcher Scott Hastings. He reached via an error his first at bat. Here's the first pitch to Scott Hastings. That's lined into right field, but it drifts foul. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, and that's 0-2 now to Hastings. Here's the 0-2 pitch. He's lined that back up through to center field for a base hit, and Hastings is aboard with a leadoff single. Just the 3rd hit of the day for the Athletics. That brings up first baseman Charlie Bierman. He hit a double his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. Swung on and missed, and it's 0-1. Throw over to first, and the runner is back in time. Here's the 0-1. That's lined into right center field. Still going. It drops. It'll roll to the wall. It's going to be another extra bases hit for Charlie Bierman. He goes to second. Hastings makes his way to third. And now the Athletics have a chance to try and claw something back here. They have second and third and nobody out. Brings up Neely Phelps to the plate. He takes ball 1 inside. Phelps Flied out to center field his first at bat. Here's the 1-0. Check swing. He didn't go, and it's below the knees. 2-0. Oh, my God. You know what's really cool, I think? I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, by the way. So some of you might know of the streamer Emiru, right? Very popular streamer. Nikkei is doing a Padres crossover. So Nikkei and the Padres have partnered up, right? And Emiru is going to take the first pitch, or she's going to throw out the first pitch tonight, literally within the next few minutes, at the Padres game in Nikkei cosplay. And I'm like, I never thought I'd see the day that, first off, any sort of foreign game would be that popular in the U.S. to the point where it's at a baseball game or it's partnered with a baseball team. But then that the whole worlds can collide, like anime, gaming, baseball. It's an interesting time we live in. Right. Here's the pitch to Neely Phelps. A 2-0. That is lined into left field. That is going to be caught for the out. Does the runner tag up is the question. He does not. And so that is just the first out of the inning. Not hit deep enough into left for the runner to tag up. And the Athletics are still waiting for their first run. That brings up pitcher Bobby Matthews. He grounded out his first at bat. He takes, it's a wild pitch. And coming on the score is Scott Hastings on the wild pitch. Going to third is Charlie Bierman. The Athletics are on the board. Here's the 1-0 pitch now to Bobby Matthews. He's lined that right at the second baseman. And that is going to be the second out of the inning. That brings up Dick Hingham to the plate. He is 0 for 2 with a pop out and a line out. Here's the first pitch. That is a called strike on the outside corner. And it is 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Called strike 2 at the lettering and the shirt. And it's now 0-2 to Dick Hingham. Here's the pitch. That's taken high inside for a ball. And it is 1-2. Right. Here's the 1-2 pitch now to Dick Hingham. And that's taken below the knees for a ball. 2-2. Hingham taking a 2-2 pitch. And he's taking it below the knees for a ball. He's fought this back to a full count. 3-2 here. Athletics need runs. 2 outs, runner on third. Here's the payoff pitch. That's grounded foul behind home plate. We'll do it again. Here's the 7th pitch of the at-bat. Swung on and missed. And Zetland got his man. He struck him out to retire the side. 1 run on 2 hits. They leave 1 aboard. We go to the 6th. It is 4-1 Fort Wayne. Due up first for the Kekiongas will be right fielder Dave Birdsall. We're going to take a 60-second timeout. We'll be back with the 6th inning in just a minute. We are back. Sixth inning about to get underway here in Philadelphia at the Jefferson Street grounds. Dave Birdsall, the right fielder, is due up first for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas. They lead it by a score of 4-1. Here's the first pitch to him. That's a called strike. Right down the chute, it's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's grounded over towards the second baseman. He will get it on to first in time for the first out of the inning. Pitcher George Zetlin is up next. He is 1 for 2 so far today with a single. Here's the first pitch. That's chopped foul behind home plate. It'll be 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's popped up in the right field, and it just trips foul. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Chop behind home plate, foul. And we'll do it again, 0-2. Here's the 0-2. That's taken below the knees for a ball, 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's taken inside, ball 2. The 2-2. That's taken low, ball 3. And it's a full count now. Here's the pitch. That's popped up. First baseman's over to get it, and that will be out number 2. Charlie Bierman getting credit for the put out. And now we go to the top of the order. Dickie Flowers, shortstop. He's going to be batting. He's 1 for 3 so far today. Here is the first pitch to him. That's taken inside for a ball. Here's the 1-0 pitch. The umpire says he swung, and that is a called strike, 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's grounded foul behind home plate, and now the count is 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's lined deep into center field, and the center fielder is there. That is Frank Barrows, who makes the catch, and the side is retired. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Fort Wayne still leading this one by a score of 4-1. Center fielder Frank Barrows is due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics. He is 0 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch. Inside, ball 1. Here's the 1-0. Called strike at the knees, and it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's inside, ball 2. Here's a 2-1 pitch. That's taken low and away, ball 3. The 3-1. That's popped up in foul territory. Catcher's there. He makes the play. Fergie Malone with the putout. And now that brings up Tom York, the left fielder. He is currently batting 1 for 2. Here's the first pitch to him. And that's grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first in time, and that's out number 2. That brings up third baseman Ed Pinkham. He's flat out twice. Here is the first pitch to Ed Pinkham, and that is outside for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Outside, ball 2, and it's 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. taken comfortably for a strike. It's 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Inside, ball 3, and it's 3-1. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Grounded foul, and the count is now full. 3-2. The pitch to Ed Pinkham. That's grounded over towards second base. Oh, and it's a fielding error. And Pinkham is aboard. Life for the Phillies in this inning. Pinkham reaches via an error on the second baseman. That's Jimmy Wood, who gets credit for the error. And the inning will continue. First pitch inside, ball 1. The batter is Dickie Pierce, 0 for 2 so far today. Throw over to first, and the runner's back in time. Here's the 1-0. That's grounded over towards the shortstop. He flips it to second, and that will get the runner and retire the side. No runs, no hits. They leave one aboard. We go to the top of the 7th, 4-1 Fort Wayne. Due up first is center fielder Count Sensendorfer. But first, we are going to take a quick 90-second or maybe 120-second break. We will be back with more in just a minute or two. Don't go anywhere. Right, we're back. 7th inning time here in Philadelphia. And Fort Wayne leading by a score of 4-1. Due up first, Count Sensendorfer. He is 0 for 3 so far today. Can he turn fortunes around and help Fort Wayne get this game sealed? And he's gonna take ball 1. Here's the 1-0. That's grounded foul, and it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. He's popped that up just outside the infield. And over there is the shortstop. He's going to make the catch. Or sorry, that's the second baseman. That's going to bring up Jimmy Wood, the second baseman. He's 1 for 3. He has a single. Here's the first pitch to Wood. That's taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Taken outside. Ball 2, or ball 1. Here's the 1-1. Called strike 2 on the outside corner of the plate. And now it's 1-2 to Jimmy Wood. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on, that's popped up. Just outside the infield. Second baseman was on into it first, and he will make the play. So back-to-back pop-ups to second base. And that brings up left fielder Steve King. He's currently 2 for 3 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Steve King. He's in the right field. It's a base hit. And Steve King gets aboard for Fort Wayne here. It's his third hit of the afternoon. And King is aboard. That's going to bring up third baseman Harry Schaefer. He's currently 1 for 3. Here's the first pitch to Schaefer. It's taken down and away for a ball. And it is 0-1. Here's the 1-0. Sorry, here's the 1-0 pitch. That's a called strike. And now it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That is taken high for a ball. 2-1. The run over to second is safe. And Steve King has got himself a stolen base. That's the 2-1 pitch now. That is below the knees for ball 3-1. And here is a hitter's count now for Harry Schaefer. Runner in scoring position. Here's the pitch. That is taken at the lettering for a strike. And it is 3-2. Here is the 3-2 pitch. Swung on. That's lined into left field, right at the left fielder. And that will retire the side. No runs on one hit. They leave one aboard. It is 7th inning stretch time here in Philadelphia. Fort Wayne leading it by a score of 4-1. As customary, we are going to go with our 7th inning stretch song. And take me out to the ball game. We will see you in 2 minutes. You heard them. You heard the play ball is the call, and we are back with the bottom of the seventh inning here in Philadelphia. The Athletics need some help. Need some help. They are 4-1 down. Scott Hastings will be the first batter here in the inning. He is currently sitting at 1-2 so far in this game. Here's the first pitch to Hastings after the seventh inning stretch, and that's taken below the knees for a ball. It's 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. He will take it himself. That's the first out of the inning. Unassisted 3. And that brings up Charlie Bierman, who was 2 for 2 so far today with both doubles. Here he is with the first pitch. That's taken inside for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's chopped foul down the third base side. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's taken below the knees for a ball. 2-1. Here's a 2-1 pitch. That's grounded back behind the screens, and it's or back into the screens, and it's 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. That's taken inside, ball 3, and now the count is full, 3-2. Here's the payoff pitch. That's grounded foul. Now we'll do it again. 7th pitch of the at-bat now. Here we go. The full count pitch. That's popped up right to second base, and that'll be the second out of the inning. P4 on the putout. And that brings up Neely Phelps, who's flied out twice. Here's the first pitch to Phelps. That's taken low and away for a ball. It is 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Inside, ball 2. It's 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Taken comfortably for a strike. It's 2-1. Here's the 2-1. He's lined that into right field. Right fielder is going to be over there. That is Dave Birdsall with the play, and that will retire the side. 3 up, 3 down for the Athletics. We go to the top of the 8th. It is 4-1 for Fort Wayne. We are going to take a quick 60-second timeout. We'll be back with the 8th inning in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. Right, welcome back. It is eighth inning here in Philadelphia. West Fizzlers due up first for Fort Wayne. They lead it by a score of 4-1. Fizzler himself is 2 for 3 with an RBI. First pitch incoming to Wes Fizzler here from Bobby Matthews. That's swung on. That's lined into right center field. And that's going to be a base hit. Extra bases for Wes Fizzler, who's going to make it 3 from 4 tonight. And he's in with a double. That brings up Fergie Malone. 1 for 3 with an RBI so far today. Here's the first pitch. That is taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's chopped foul. And it will be 0-2. 0-2 the count. Here's the pitch. That's grounded over to first base. And the pitcher comes over to assist. That'll be a 3-1 on the putout. And Fizzler goes to third on the play. So now the runner is 90 feet away. And there's only one out. That brings up right fielder Dave Birdsall. He is 0 for 3 so far today, as he will face the 100th pitch from Bobby Matthews in this game. He swung that on. That's grounded over to third. On to first comfortably in time for the second out of the inning. It does score the run, so it's an RBI ground out for Wes Fizzler. I'm sorry, for Dave Birdsall. Fizzler comes in to score, and that makes it 5-1 Fort Wayne. George Zetline will be the next batter. He is 1 for 3 so far today. He's going to take ball 1 below the knees. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That is taken below the knees again for a ball. It's 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. That's grounded over to short. On to first in plenty of time, and that retires George Zetline. So 1 run on 1 hit. They leave the bases empty. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and Fort Wayne have taken a 5-1 advantage. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics is pitcher Bobby Matthews. He is 0 for 2 so far today. He's going to take the pitch. Bobby Matthews, here's the first pitch to him. That's taken inside for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's swung and chopped foul. It'll be 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Grounded over to short. That's grounded well over short, and it was well taken, and that's thrown on to first for the out. Very good play. That brings up Dick Higham, top of the order, the second baseman. He is 0 for 3 with a strikeout in his last at-bat. Here's the first pitch to Higham. He swung on and missed. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's taken below the knees. Ball 1. 1-1 to count. Here's the pitch. Inside. Ball 2. And it is 2-1. 2-1 currently. Here's the pitch. That's ball 3, 3-1. Here's hitter's count now. Here's the pitch. That's lined right. Oh, it's over the first baseman's head. And Dick Higgins got his first hit of the afternoon, or of the night, I should say. Well, afternoon. It's 4:06 in the game. So he's got his first hit of the afternoon with a single here. That'll bring up Frank Barrows, who's 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Barrows. He's chopped that foul. Here's the 0-1. Lined right at the shortstop. He's going to go to second for the 1. They won't get the runner at first. But it'll be Frank Barrows aboard via a fielder's choice, 6-4. And that is the second out of the inning. I've also wrote it in the 9th like an idiot, so let me correct that now. That'll bring up left fielder Tom York. He's 1 for 3 so far today. Here's the pitch to York. That's taken high and in for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Called strike on the outside part of the plate. And it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on and missed. And that is 1-2 now. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Check swing, but he didn't go. And it's below the knees for ball 2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Throw over to first. The runner is back safely. Throw over to first. And the runner is back in time. Throw over to first. The runner is back safely. Here's the pitch. That's grounded foul. Here's the pitch to Tom York, the 2-2. That's grounded foul again. Here's the 2-2. That's lined. It's a base hit. It goes all the way to the wall. A double for Tom York. Barrows goes to third. And now with 2 outs, there's 2 runners in scoring position. Tying run is, no tying run, sorry. Right, that'll bring up Ed Pinkham. Third baseman, he's 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Pinkham. That's taken on the outside corner for a strike, 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's below the knees for a ball, 1-1. 1-1 pitch. That's taken high. Ball 2. And it's 2-1. Here's the pitch. Off the plate away. Hitters count 3-1. The pitch. That's lined foul. It'll be full count now. 3-2. Here's the 3-2 pitch. That's grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first. It's a throwing error from the second baseman. Jimmy Wood gets his second error of the game. And reaching is Ed Pinkham via an error in E4. Going to third is Tom York. Scoring on the play will be Frank Barrows. And Philly's got one back. That brings the tying run to the plate in Dickie Pierce. He's 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the first pitch to, Pierce is not coming in. It's going to be John Hatfield. He swung on and missed. It's 0-1. The 0-1 to Hatfield. He's lined that right at the shortstop over to second, and that will retire the side. 1 run on 2 hits. They leave 2 aboard. We go to the top of the 9th inning, and Fort Wayne have a 5-2 advantage. Due up first for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas is first baseman Dickie Flowers. We are going to take a 90-second timeout. Or, I'm sorry, a 30-second timeout. I got it wrong both times. We are going to take a 60-second timeout. We'll be right back with the 9th inning in just a moment. Welcome back. 9th inning here in Philadelphia. Dickie Flowers is due up first. Bobby Matthews here still on the mound. He's going to give the first pitch to Dickie Flowers, and that is ball one. Here's the 1-0. High and in, ball two. 2-0 pitch to Dickie Flowers. He's 1 for 4 with an RBI today. He's popped that up. That's going to drift foul. Count will be 2-1. 2-1 pitch. That's grounded foul. The count runs to 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Grounded foul. It'll remain 2-2. Here's the 2-2. Grounded foul, still 2-2. The pitch. That's lined into right field. That's a base hit. And Dickie Flowers is going to have himself a leadoff double here at the top of the 9th. Fort Wayne with a chance to really put this game beyond doubt. That's going to bring up center fielder Count Sensendorfer. He's 0 for 4 today. Here's the first pitch. That's grounded foul. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's taken high for a ball. 1-1. The 1-1 pitch swung on and missed. That's 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's popped up or lined up into left field. That's just drifts foul. Here's the 1-2. That is a ball two, and it's a passed ball. The catcher can't stop it, and Dickie Flowers is now just 90 feet away with nobody out. Two is swung on. Into left field it goes. It's not deep enough, and so the runner will stay. That brings up Jimmy Wood. He's 1 for 4 so far today. Here's the pitch. That's swung on, grounded over to second base. They go to home for the run, but he's safe. The runner is safe. Jimmy Wood gets the fielder's choice for it. So he's aboard. And they cannot beat Dickie Flowers' run home. And Fort Wayne have moved to 6-2 in the lead. Here's left fielder Steve King. He is 3 for 4 so far today. He takes called, strike one. And it is 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's a ball. The throw over to second, and safe is Jimmy Wood. He stole second base. I was like, who else had the stolen base in this game? Oh, Steve King did. Oddly enough, the guy who's at the plate right now. Right, 1-1 to Steve King. Here's the pitch. That's taken for a ball. It's 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Inside ball three. The attempted steal of third. Jimmy Wood is going to get there. 2 stolen bases for Jimmy Wood. And now he's 90 feet away with just 1 out. 3-1 pitch. Here it is. That's swung on and lined into right field. Right fielder's there. That might be deep enough, actually, to get the runner home. And, yes, he has tagged up. So it's an RBI fly out to right field. And coming home to score is Jimmy Wood. And now Fort Wayne have got a 7-2 advantage. 2 outs here in the top of the 9th. Harry Schaefer is the next batter, the third baseman. He is currently 1 for 3 in this ball game. Here's the first pitch to Schaefer. That's swung on, grounded over to third. On to first, that's in time, and that will retire the side. 2 runs on 1 hit, and they leave the bases empty. So 2 runs on 1 hit, nobody left on base. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Fort Wayne leading it by a score of 7-2. Due up first for the Philadelphia Athletics, catcher Scott Hastings. Hastings is currently 1 for 3 in this ball game. Here's the first pitch to Hastings. That's taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on, lined into right field. That is going to be a base hit. And so Hastings gets his second hit of the night. And Philadelphia has a leadoff runner aboard. Charlie Bierman will be the next batter. He is 2 for 3 so far today. First pitch to Bierman. Outside for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That's fouled off the third base side. It is 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Grounded foul behind home plate. It's 1-2. The 1-2 pitch. And it's taken for a ball. It's 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, lined into left field. Another base hit. Back-to-back base hits for the Athletics. Going to second is Scott Hastings. And just like that, Philly's got the first 2 runners aboard here in the bottom of the 9th. Neely Phelps. Actually, we're going to get a substitute. Charlie Sweezy will come in. He's 1 for 2 in his 2 at-bats so far this season. He replaces Neely Phelps, who finishes 0 for 3. Here's the first pitch. That is swung on and missed. Called strike or strike one. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Taken low for a ball. It is 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Called strike two, and it's 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. And that one is in left field. Base hit. It gets down. The pinch hit works. Everybody advances one base, and now Philly's got the bases loaded here. Nobody out. That is going to bring up Bobby Matthews. The pitcher is 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the pitch. Called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. He's popped that up. Infield fly rule is in effect. And so it'll just be an out. The runners stay. That's the first out for Zetlin and the Kekiongas. Dick Higgum is going to be the next batter. He is 1 for 4 so far today. Here's the pitch. That's taken high for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That's lined into center field and deep. It's going back. The center fielder's there. He makes the catch. That'll be at least one run tagging up. Scoring on the play is Scott Hastings, but the Phillies are down to their last out now. Runners on first and second. Coming into bat is going to be Frank Barrows, who is 0 for 4. Here's the pitch to Frank. He takes it inside, ball 1. Here's the 1-0. Inside, ball 2. The 2-0 pitch. Called strike at the lettering, and it's 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch. He's popped it up behind home plate. It hits the screens, and it goes to 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. He's lined it into right field. It's going. It's off the top of the wall. It just couldn't carry out of the ballpark, but he's going to score 2 runs. He goes to third, and Frank Barrows has scored 2 runs for the Phillies to make it 7-5. And the Phillies are not done yet. It means the tying run is at the plate. It'll be Tom York, 2 for 4. Here's the first pitch to York. Runner on first. He takes a ball outside. Here's the 1-0. Inside, ball 2. The 2-0 pitch, taken low, ball 3. Do you swing? Do you swing? The 3-0 pitch. And he's walked him. Tom York is aboard. The tying run is aboard on a walk here in the 4th. And now the winning run is at the plate. It's Ed Pinkham, who's 0 for 4 so far today. Winning run is at the plate. Amazingly. Here's the first pitch to Pinkham. That's taken way high for a ball. The 1-0 pitch. Outside, ball 2. The 2-0 pitch is grounded foul. It's 2-0. It's 2-1 now. Here's the 2-1 pitch. He's grounded that foul, and the count goes 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. Outside, ball 3. The full count. He takes it low, ball 4, and the winning run is now in scoring position. Or the tying run is in scoring position. The winning run is aboard. Bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. That brings up, it's going to be a substitute for John Hartfeld. It'll be Joe Quest who comes in. Quest needs to get this ball, needs a hit. Getting it in play is not enough. It needs to be a hit. He could tie the game with it. Here's the first pitch to Joe Quest. He's taking that inside for a ball. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on. That's lined into right field. And it just drifts foul. The 1-1 pitch. Called strike 2. And 1 strike away is Fort Wayne. Here's the 1-2. He's grounded that to first. He steps on the bag, and Joe Quest cannot deliver. Fort Wayne survive a crazy 9th inning in which the Athletics scored 3 runs on 4 hits, and they leave the bases loaded. The final score here in Philadelphia, the Fort Wayne Kekiongas 7, the Philadelphia Athletics 5. Time for the score sheets here and the scorebook in general. And we're going to go with the pitching stats. We'll start with George Zetlin. I have 150 pitches. I do, yeah. He pitched all 9 innings. He walked 2 in the final inning. He struck out 1. And he is responsible for... they have 10 hits. Did I do the math wrong? I did do the math wrong. 10 hits. Runs was 5. Earned runs was 4 of them. Bobby Matthew, or we'll do the rest of the team actually now. Sorry, we'll do the rest of the team. Right. Dickie Flowers, he had 5 at-bats, 2 hits. He scored 1 run. He had 1 RBI, and one of those hits was a double. He also made 1 fielding error. Count Sensendorfer, he had 5 at-bats. He did not have a single hit. Jimmy Wood, he had 5 at-bats. He had 1 hit. He scored 3 runs. He had 2 stolen bases, and he also made 2 fielding errors. Steve King, he had 5 at-bats. He had 3 hits. He had 1 RBI, and he had a stolen base. For Henry Schaefer, he had 5 at-bats. He had 1 hit. And for Wes Fissler, he had 4 at-bats. He had 3 hits. One of them was a double. He scored 1 run. He had 1 RBI, and he was caught stealing once. Fergie Malone, he was... Hold on, let me just move the ad message here. Sorry. Right, Fergie Malone. He finished with 4 at-bats, not a single hit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He had 1 hit. And he had 1 RBI on that hit. Dave Birdsall had 4 at-bats. He did not have a hit, but he had 1 RBI, and he scored a run. George Zetlin had 4 at-bats. He had 1 hit, and he scored a run. Final total for the Fort Wayne Kekiongas, 20, 25, 29, 33, 37, 41 at-bats. They had 10 hits. They scored 7 runs. They had doubles. Two doubles. No triples. No home runs. No base on balls. No strikeouts. They stole 3 bases. And RBIs, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 RBIs. They also made 3 fielding errors. Over to the Philadelphia Athletics. Bobby Matthews pitched 9 innings. I have 123 pitches. That's correct. He walked 2, right? No, he didn't walk any. He didn't strike out any. He gave up how many hits? 6, 9, 10. I have 12 hits. That's correct. Runs was 7. 5 of them were earned. Over to the batting statistics for Philadelphia. Dick Higham had 5 at-bats. He had 1 hit. He scored 1 RBI, or he had 1 RBI, and he struck out once. He also had a fielding error. Frank Barrows, he had 5 at-bats. He had 1 hit. It was a triple. It was for 2 RBIs. And he also scored a run. Tom York, he had 4 at-bats, 2 hits. He was caught stealing once, and he had a base on balls. One of those hits was a double, by the way. Ed Pinkham, he had 4 at-bats. He had no hits. He had one base on balls, 1 fielding error. Dickie Pierce had 3 at-bats, no hits. Scott Hastings had 4 at-bats. He had 2 hits in those at-bats. He scored 1 run. He had a fielding error. No, I'm sorry. He scored 2 runs. He scored 2 runs. He had a fielding error. Charlie Bierman, he had 4 at-bats. He had 3 hits. 2 of them were doubles, and he didn't score a run. Neely Phelps had 3 at-bats. He did not score a hit. Bobby Matthews had 4 at-bats. He did not score a hit. Jim Hatfield had 1 at-bat. He did not score a hit. Charlie Sweezy had 1 at-bat. It was a hit. And Joe Quest had 1 at-bat. He did not score a hit. Final batting statistics for Philadelphia. 5, 10, 14, 18, 21, 25, 29, 32, 36, 39 at-bats for Philadelphia. 1, 2, 3. I did not count runs correctly, if this is the case. Who else scored runs? I should have 5 runs. Who scored a run that I forgot to record? Who scored runs? Oh, that's OBS. Who scored runs? Anybody? Barrows had a run. Do I have that one? Barrows? I have that one recorded. Hastings has 2 runs. I have that recorded. Who scored the run? Bierman. Do I have him? Oh, he came home from second in the... I don't know if I have him. He did go around. I forgot to record it in the last inning. So he had 1 run. And that would also mean that Sweezy has the other run, right? Yeah. Yeah, Sweezy has the other run. I forgot to record that as well. Right. So that's 5 runs. Hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 hits. Of those hits, 4 of them were doubles. Good Lord. 1 of them was a triple. You scored 4 doubles in the game, 1 triple in the game, and you didn't win. They struck out once. They stole. They didn't steal. They were caught stealing once, but they didn't steal. And how many RBIs? 1, 2, 3, 3 RBIs. They also made 3 fielding errors. So there you have it. Right. What's that do to the standings? We're going to move along. Let's look at the standings real quick. We'll come back to the next game. The Philadelphia Athletics will slide a game back from the Boston Red Stockings, who are 5-2. Fort Wayne increased their lead on the National League. They're a game ahead of the New York Mutuals, 1.5 of the Chicago White Stockings, 2.5 ahead of us, the Rockford Forest Cities. They're now 3.5 ahead of the Troy Haymakers. 7 games down for them. Remember, it's only a 32-game season, I think it is. It's only a 32-game season, the opening season. So they are very much in control at the really like already a fifth through the season for them. Right. The next matchup for us is going to be the 1-5 Troy Haymakers taking on the 2-1 New York Mutuals. And followed by the probably New York Mutuals against the Boston Red Stockings. I don't think we've really covered Boston too much in the next game. But the next game will be the 13th of May in 1871. The Troy Haymakers hosting the New York Mutuals. That is the next game. 1-5 Troy have to win to get their season rebooted. They go 1-6. They might be out of it. They'll be 4 games back. With I know there's a lot of baseball to play, but to be 4 games back that early, not ideal. Right, thank you everybody for coming in today. Let's see who we have to thank. First off, big thank you to Big Man on Campus for the raid. Otto Leidenbrock for sticking around and chatting for a while. Super appreciative. And for the follow. It was great to have you. Cully, who made an appearance as well. Huge thank you to Cully for coming in. It was a pleasure. It's a lot of fun to do Out of the Baseball. We're back in Out of the Baseball next with the 1-5 Troy Haymakers and the 2-1 New York Mutuals. That is it from me. I am back streaming tomorrow night with, I'm sorry, no, not tomorrow night. I am back streaming Thursday night with Action Time in. We're going to finish Archive Season 2. We're going to start Archive Season 3 as well. And then Football Manager 2023, The Longest Save, comes back Friday. That should be a good one. We are still in Korea. We are 1-1-1 and out of the Korean FA Cup already. So we'll see about that. And then Sunday morning, we have our CLG FC save. That's it for me. We're going to see. I'm going to see if I can raid the commish. I might not be able to raid the commish, but if I can, we're going to send you there. We can send you there. We are sending you to the commish. Have a great night, everybody. We are back on Thursday with more. Until then, take care.